And good morning, everybody. It is September 12th, 2023, and we are taking a look at the updated path and possible landfall times of Hurricane Lee, which is a major hurricane as we speak, expected to be right off the northeast coast and making landfall as early as this weekend. Now, as of the posting of this video, we could see Lee right here at 100 knots or 115 miles per hour. That is a major Category 3 hurricane, 948 millibars, and it's traveling west-northwest at 6 knots or 7 miles per hour. This is as of 8 a.m. this morning. We also got Hurricane Margot, 85 miles per hour, more than likely not a threat to land. And we are also going to be talking about this invest right here that has a 70% chance of cyclone formation over the next 7 days. A lot going on in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, some key situations we want to be looking at here as we track Lee and Margot behind it right here to the east. Once again, as we've been talking about in the last few videos, is a set of high pressure systems. We've got the big Bermuda Atlantic bubble here that extends once again all the way through Florida into the Gulf and the Caribbean right here. So we could see Lee getting pinned down in this area just north of Puerto Rico and the Lesser Antilles here, about to make that northern hook up towards the northeast. And what I want you to notice is that we have a stationary high pressure here in the South Caribbean, and then we have the high pressure bubble in the Atlantic. Now again, this was a big reason why Lee was getting pinned in this area, but now watch what happens when we move forward in time. As we've been talking about, that northern hook is about to take place around midweek. This is showing Wednesday, September 13th. That is tomorrow, but that high pressure bubble has now pulled off of the east coast of the United States, leaving this path for Lee to come straight up into the northeast. So at least as of Wednesday and probably early Thursday, we can even move into Thursday right about here, we are well off the coast of the southeast, and for the most part here going forward, Lee is going to shoot directly north, and what current tracks and plots are showing is a direct hit in Maine, possibly Massachusetts, which would be on Sunday, September 17th. Now keep in mind that is 5 days away, and as this forecast has been going on, we've been seeing a trend towards the west, and by west what I mean is that Lee is actually heading in a western direction more and more every 5 to 8 hours. So by the time we reach Sunday, we could see even more tracks towards the west, with possible landfalls in Long Island, big effects in Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and then of course Maine, and then Nova Scotia. All these areas are now within the high probability areas of Lee making a landfall, or at least having significant effects on those coastal lines. Now taking a look directly at the spaghetti plots, we are seeing more and more of these plots peel off almost into a Superstorm Sandy type situation, where we get this dramatic hook to the left or into the east coast. Remember, Superstorm Sandy followed a similar path, making a hard left turn right into New Jersey, and again with a 5-day buffer between where Lee is right now and where Lee is projected to be, there's a lot of room for these models to change once again and get an even more western track of Lee, which would put it closer or making landfall sooner in the northeast of the United States. Now again, I can't stress this enough. Here is a graphic from the Weather Channel. As we've been talking about, here is that high pressure bubble that begins to pull off into the eastern Atlantic, and then what we have is a steering mechanism allowing Lee to come in this northern direction towards the northeast, and then basically our only savior, and this is going to depend highly on good timing, is this dip in the jet stream that creates basically a high pressure force field and wall that will then push Lee out into the Atlantic Ocean. Now if this takes place any sooner or even after the projected path of Lee, this could bypass the storm altogether, allowing Lee a much higher probability of making landfall anywhere from New Jersey to Maine. So we need to keep in mind, just over the last day and a half, we didn't really have any of the United States within the cone of uncertainty, and now we have Maine, basically that little piece of New Hampshire that sticks out, Massachusetts, and as time goes on, I think this will begin tracking a little more towards the East Coast. So we have a lot to look out for when it comes to this storm, as well as some very, very significant waves. Over here on windy.com, as we move into Thursday and the beginning of Friday, we're going to start seeing some very significant wave heights here near the Carolinas. We can see near the Outer Banks, we're looking at 14 to 17 foot waves, which also causes rip currents. That's very dangerous to beaches and people that are in the water. I'm sure you've heard about that nonstop for those of you that have been following this storm on places like the Weather Channel and AccuWeather. Then as we move into the beginning of the weekend, we start seeing those very same effects. On the Virginia coast here, we have 13 11-foot waves, as well as New Jersey, 11 foot here. But again, as time moves on, these waves are going to get more and more intense. By Saturday, we start seeing those wave heights in Long Island, and then some of the more prone areas like that little coast of Rhode Island, as well as Massachusetts, which I think is going to get the highest of the waves. We see 20-foot waves here as the eye wall of Lee moves into the northeast. And then as we spoke about, Sunday is going to be a very significant day as of the data we have right now. And take a look at this. Look at the wave heights for Maine, 31-foot storm swells. In this entire pocket that includes Nova Scotia, 29-foot waves. And also because of the counterclockwise spin of Lee that is going to be pulling water into this pocket here, and basically that entire eastern coast of Massachusetts, once again, 23-foot waves. So you can imagine as this storm moves in time and the possibility of it tracking more and more to the west, that is going to put the effects in a much higher degree for the northeast. I will be tracking Lee throughout the day. It's incredible that we are seeing this storm only over Puerto Rico right now. With the amount of time we've been covering Hurricane Lee and how many times it's become a major hurricane, this stall out we have seen has become very significant and has altered the path of Lee on more than one occasion. One more thing I want to show you here is take a look at the outflow of Lee. All that moisture is going straight up into the mid-Atlantic and over Bermuda. It then begins to make a southern dip and then gets caught up in the flow of Hurricane Margot. So these two hurricanes are sharing moisture from the Atlantic Ocean, and the same thing will be happening with Hurricane Nigel, which is forming down here. Chances are will become a hurricane, as we showed within the next 5 to 7 days. Basically, to put it lightly, we are nowhere near the end of hurricane season. We have multiple waves even behind this invest that are coming off the west coast of Africa. That's where the bulk of our hurricanes come from this season. We still have plenty of opportunity for storms to be forming in the South Caribbean, which give us less and less time to prepare and often affect areas like the Gulf of Mexico. And with that said, that is our update for this morning. I'll be talking about this and other things throughout the day on the Twitter and Instagram accounts. Please make sure you go and visit and follow those. I appreciate you all taking the time to watch this video. Please leave your questions and concerns down below. Shout out to Canada, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.